Okay, everyone, good morning. All right, um, let's go ahead and get started. First things first, let's take a look at the economic data that will be coming out today, the 25th. Excuse me. Here's what we have. All right, so we have at 9 a.m. Eastern, uh, we have HPI month over month and S&P CS Composite 20 HPI year over year. Neither one of these reports are important, so don't expect too much of a market impact from them. Next up at 10 a.m., we have CB Consumer Confidence, which is a major report. And we'll have the Richmond Manufacturing Index, which is a semi-major report, meaning it's kind of has a moderate expected impact on the markets. So we'll see what happens there. So we have two major reports at 10 a.m. and two minor reports at 9 a.m. And we'll see what happens. All right. Moving on. So now we've covered that. Actually, let me do this on the screen. Now we've covered that. Let's take a look at what stocks were moving yesterday. All right, so let's go over my list here. So in no particular order, Tesla first, since it's already on the screen. Now, yesterday we did have a good number of stocks that were moving fairly well. So very good there. And we have Tesla, which was able to not only reach target number two, which was 266.18, but it also was able to exceed it almost to $270 a share. So great job for the day for Tesla. Um, KOD, although it doesn't look like it did much, it was able to reach target number two of 366 after starting the day at 303 and topping out at $4.07. So percentage wise, it was a pretty good move. Dollar wise, it wasn't a bad move either. It was pretty consistent. All right, next up we've got PACW. This was identified very early in the session. At the time, Zion Bank was moving up. I'll go over Zion in a second. But we basically looked at Zion, saw that it was going up faster than PACW, but since they're in the same industry, banking, my guess was that PACW would be able to follow suit, and it did. PACW was able to reach target number two of 1052 a share, topped out just over 1060 a share, so very nice day for that. Next up is Baidu, BIDU. Now this one was a rocket. One of the members in the coaching room pointed it out first. It was actually on our watch list here either way, so we were all observing it at the same time, but one of the members pointed out just when it started to break out. So we took a look and it looked great, so gave some targets. It was able to reach target number two of 144.70, which you can clearly see is way down here. So the stock was not only able to reach that target, it actually went about twice as far the distance as the target number two expected, reaching a high just under $151 a share. So this was easily one of the best movers, but it wasn't the only one like this. We also had uh, JD and JD.com, which was able to reach its target number two as well, which was 37.92, and then surpass it by a mile. Basically got to around 38.85 on the high. So a very strong move as well. Notice the same pattern of trading, that not much going on at the open, then suddenly a sharp breakout. Okay. There were some other Chinese stocks as well. Chinese stocks as well did the same thing. I'll get to them in a second. But next up is Zion Bank, and we didn't put Zion out as a opportunity early in the session. It just became one later on after it really got on a move. It had to pass its target number one at 36.51 first, But like I said, PACW was already on the move, so we did good by picking that as our first choice. It did have the better movement, the better behavior, so that's why I decided to focus on that first. But eventually Zion reached 37.32, which was target number two. It topped out around 30, just above 34, 37.40, so didn't go much farther than what the targets projected there. All right. As far as stocks that were bearish, we did see a ARRY, which was projected to go down to its target number one, which was 1862, which it did. And then it went about one third of the way to target number two, bottoming out at 1844. Not a great move down, but there was one. At the beginning of the session, it was a pretty mixed bag. We had some economic data that came out that completely inverted the market, but eventually a lot of stocks started to trend. Next up is Futu, Futu. Now this one, just like JD and just like Baidu, it started off going down and then suddenly took off. And this one was able to reach its target number two of 48.33 after we had already identified it. And it went on to peak at $50.48, which put it far above its target number two. It was about just under double the move. So again, a very massive mover in another. I believe Futu is a Chinese stock. Let me see. Yep, that's a Chinese stock. Okay. Now, again, another bearish stock was AMD. At the start of the session, it was looking pretty bearish, looking like it was going to get down to its target number one to the downside of 108.27, but it failed. Only got down to 108.55, which was pretty close, but not close enough. And then it turned around and basically went back up, as you can see, to neutralize within the price range between the previous session's close at that time and that current session's open. Next up, we have HBAN, which was a good mover, but it didn't have large price change. In other words, it moved in a good trend, but the actual change in price was relatively small. This stock started the day off at 11.85 a share. Obviously, with the banks going up, this was an opportunity that we considered, but we did catch it from target number one at $12 to target number two at $12.16. So again, not a very large move. Topped out at $12.22, a good percentage change, a good overall trend behavior, but not a very large mover. Next up, we have BBIG, which was a very, very aggressive stock moving up. This one was able to reach $5.87. Now, it was difficult to target where this would go. It reached target number two, 379, almost immediately, starting at 323. So that target was reached within the first few minutes. So we really didn't have a great opportunity there, in my opinion, to exploit it. However, once it pulled back and started to go up again, there was another target. Now, in the case of this stock, the targets, the regular targets that we use for stocks like Amazon and Apple, don't really matter as much. So I gave a target based on a previous high, which this was actually able to get to, and then eventually it surpassed it, reaching a high of 587 for those who were in that. Next up, we have Billy, which is another stock, another Chinese stock that had that great move, right? So Chinese stocks really did well yesterday. Chinese ADRs, Chinese stocks that are listed in the United States. This stock was able to reach its target number two of 1654, no problem. And then it topped out over 1770 a share. I think around 1775, 74, somewhere in that neighborhood. But again, very, very strong move. It went almost double. Actually, no, it did go just over double the projected move from the opening price to target number two. So that was very substantial. All right. Next up, we'll just skip the ones that didn't really play out. Riot Blockchain, we had a projection to the downside for that. Based on its opening, it looked like it was going to go down, and it did. We had a projection down to target number one of 1686, which it did hit. Went to a low of 1683. Not the best move. Obviously, the best opportunities were in the Chinese stocks, but going up. but you did have this bearish opportunity as well. Um, Another good bearish opportunity that I forgot to mention, but this was the best one, was RXRX. And this was projected to the downside. It started the day off bearish. It was up in the pre-market, but then as soon as the bell rang, it sold off. Then after that, we had a projection. Target number one was 1496. Target number two was 1414. It hit both, bottoming out at 1409, just a little bit below target number two. Okay, so there you have it, folks. Excellent trading session as far as the opportunities went yesterday. So hopefully everyone was able to take advantage of those as much as possible. Now let's look at what's moving pre-market. I don't see much on my radar. It doesn't mean there aren't too many stocks moving, but sometimes I don't see them. So that's where you guys come in. So first up, I got BFRG. This is moving pre-market. Currently, it's up. Oh, it didn't save my settings. Sorry, 1 second. 1 second. All right, I have to change this and display. What's the other one? Okay, I'll deal with the other one later. Okay, it'll take a second. There it is. Okay, so back to what we were saying. This stock is currently up 45%, nearly 46% on 7.1 million shares. Looking good. Trading at $5 a share. So that definitely qualifies as a pre-market candidate. So we'll add that to our radar. Again, the symbol is BFRG. That is now added to our watch list for this morning. Next up, I've got ELBM. This one is at 206 a share, trading up 67% on 7.1 million shares. So that also qualifies. So we'll add that to our pre-market list as well. Symbol again is ELBM. Okay, so these are the only two stocks at the moment that show up on my pre-market radar that meet all of our criteria of $1 a share or higher in price, NASDAQ traded stock that has at least 1 million shares that have traded in today's pre-market session. Also has a price change of at least 6%. So if you folks see any other stocks that meet that criteria, please let me know in the chat and I'll go ahead and take a look. So again, we're looking for stocks that have a pre-market volume of over 1 million shares, or at least 1 million, and they must have a percent change of at least 6% positive or negative. So Darren mentions Yosh, YOSH, and he is right. This is trading just above $1 per share, so just within the threshold of what we need for price. It is a NASDAQ stock, of course, 63% roughly percent change, and 2.6 million shares traded. So good find there, Darren. We'll add YOSH to our pre-market list. If you folks find any other stocks that meet the criteria, please let me know in the chat, and then I'll go ahead and take a look. Any other stocks that you folks see that meet our criteria here, let me know in the chat, and then we'll take a look. So far, we have 3 stocks, BFRG, ELBM, and YOSH as our pre-market list for today. All right, so I'll assume that's all we can find. No problem. This week has not been very rich in opportunities pre-market, but we'll see. Uh, 11K. Oh, okay. Let's take a look. ST, okay. Yep. Let me see. Yeah, it's probably going to get to that. All right. So STOK is down 27.28%, so that definitely checks. The volume is under a million, but you're right, it should be there pretty quickly, so we'll count that. It most likely will hit a million shares before I'm done with the broadcast. So we'll add that to our radar as well. Another good find there, Scott. Um, STOK. Okay. Any others, folks? Got a couple minutes here, so if you see any others, let me know. So again, we're looking for NASDAQ stocks, 1 million shares or more of traded volume, pre-market volume today. Must be trading at least $1 per share. And we need some significant change in price, at least a 6% change in price, positive or negative. Obviously, we want more, but we'll see. Okay, let's give it another 10 seconds here. And if nothing else, we'll go ahead and wrap up. So again, any stocks that meet those 4 criteria, let me know in the chat, and I'll go ahead and take a look. Okay. And while I'm waiting for that, be sure, folks, to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Our subscriber base is growing very rapidly at this point. So thank you, everyone, for signing up and following us. And for those of you who are not very familiar with our company, be sure to check out fundertrading.com. It's our website. You'll see a link to that in the description of this video. Other than that, folks, for those of you who are part of the program, I'll see you in the coaching room in about 15, 16 minutes or so. And for everyone else, again, check out our website to learn more about how we fund traders to trade the financial markets. Okay. All right, folks, have a great trading session. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning for the pre-market pulse, and then we'll go from there. All right. Take care.